Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott, Chuck Blunt, back again to do another episode of the Nolecast here as we continue on our positional preview series, previewing the linebackers today. Interesting conversation. I think we have a little bit of a difference of opinion here as to what this will look like, so that's always nice. What's always nice is the support that we receive from our sponsors and the support that you, the listeners, have given them historically. No greater example of that than the legendary team that Chad runs, 600 deals, 600, more than 600 at this point. Home loans closed via Nolecast listeners. We say it all the time, but just can't stress enough how much effort, energy, and attention Chad puts into this. Fantastic to work with him and his team. Bud can personally tell you that as well. The team at Congruity have been great supporters of the Nolecast. Somebody that I've worked at many different times along my own professional journey. I would highly recommend them, and they truly do allow you to focus on what makes your business special. And they are great at kind of supplementing that of what you don't want to otherwise have to deal with, whether that be payroll, HR, etc. And Matt Thompson and his team at For the Table Restaurant Group, Madison Social, Township, Charlie Park, all the other fantastic options. I want to thank Matt and his team for, I believe this is 11 years of supporting the Nolecast. So, yeah, we're into double digits on our sponsor relationship. We're old, but we also have some linebackers to talk about. So let's get into it.
And they're old.
Yes.
I mean, this is like kind of old at least. So we got Elijah Herring, Justin Cryer, Omar Graham. Well, okay, so in this defense, these guys are definitely going to be asked. Like Tony White will send them from anywhere. Certainly, we probably, if you heard the defensive end and defensive line preview we just did, you're probably going to need to be sending these guys from everywhere if you want to create some pressure. And also, they'll need to take on some blocks and whatnot. Just play the linebacker position, but maybe a little bit less man coverage, most likely out here. So might fit a little bit better with what you have on this roster, I guess. Some smarts, maybe not a ton of next level athleticism from this linebacking group, but some decent size. Certainly, I'm curious to see how that plays out. If you heard the last episode, I was saying that I wanted to say something and I forgot what I was going to say, and now I recalled it. And it is that it is going to be very important to play as a team and blitz as a team, because we know that Tony wants to send it quite a bit, and it's not just about getting to the quarterback for the D lineman. You also have to work in concert with these linebackers. These backers need to have a feel for which gaps are going to open and when within the play they're going to open, so you can hit them on the run. Nobody wants to hit a blitz and have to slow down, wait for the gap to open like that. That's just not good. You largely want to create run throughs if you can, so that you're bursting the backfield in full speed, and then you break it down when you get to the quarterback or the ball carrier. Graham mentioned this difference of opinion here, and I don't know that I love this linebacking core, but I think it might be the best part of your defense because of the trustworthiness, or what I'm hoping is some trustworthiness, I guess. Like the floor, there are probably a decent number of ACC teams who would like to have this linebacking group. Not a ton. Obviously, I think Miami likes theirs. Clemson really likes theirs. I think Louisville likes theirs. Pitt loves theirs. Obviously, they have a preseason All-American on that team. So, but you look at this, Elijah Herring is a guy who super productive at Memphis. It was not likely going to start in Tennessee or for the figure that I think he probably wanted, and he went to Memphis and made a bazillion tackles. Right, and the guy's like a pretty decent college football player, and they picked him up in the portal. Justin Cryer, a dude who just kind of continued to progress a little bit and hopefully become more mature throughout the process. And Omar Graham's a dude who, honestly, best I can say is like he's still here, and he does seem to be getting a little bit better year after year. I'll open the floor to you guys. Like, who do you want to discuss most in this group?
Look, you make a good point. Juice Cryer, I've got as much confidence in him as any player on the roster. Interested to see, if there's any lingering. What was that against UNC that he picked up that leg injury? Looked nasty in the moment. Didn't end up being quite as serious. I think once they got a chance to look at it, it's about the only good thing that came out of the back end of the season there, if I remember correctly. Herring, good fit, nice piece. Omar Graham, you more or less know what you're getting out of him. At times, I think has been overly scapegoated by the fan base on some certain situations and things, but we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but like, it's troubling to me that Blake Nicholson is a backup. Okay, that's a guy that, again, I hate to be redundant, but this is a big piece that you got out of high school. That was one of the more internally, that was one of the more highly ranked linebackers that they thought was out there in the country, is my understanding. And it was always going to take a second. Blake was a very good high school running back, but you're in year 3, and I think this chart's right. I mean, he's your second team backer. It may not be a great fit for the system. All of these as a one-off aren't that big of a deal. But when you continue to see some trends here, I think it's worth pointing out. Caleb Lavalle, I think very high potential there, dealing with an injury, I believe. So I'm not sure you'll necessarily see him in the Bama game. And, Stephen Thompson's just kind of a nice piece who's very familiar with the system.
I think one of my questions when putting this together was, how often will all three of Cryer, Herring, and Graham actually be on the field together outside of first down? Just because you're going to, even though it's a 3-3-5, you got to imagine you're going to have that edge on the field a lot. And you're probably in today's modern game going to play 5 DBs in some form. So is it still really a 2 linebacker set because that edge has to be involved so often? Or do we think they're really going to play a lot of true 3 linebackers on the field at the same time?
So part of it, I think, is going to depend on who you play and when you play them, right? Like Bama's probably not a lot of 2 tight end. Just from listening to various Bama shows, they don't appear to love their tight ends. So I think they're going to try to spread you out. So I wouldn't expect a ton of 3 backer stuff here, unless you're going like 3-3, I guess. But man, if you go 3-3, who's rushing the passer for you? I guess
right.
That's all blitz. But that's okay. That's a lot of what 3-3 is. Arnett's done some 3-3 stuff before, quite a bit of it actually. So maybe that's your answer there. Virginia's a team that will run some 11 personnel. If they want to run without a tight end, I think we are all about that on this show because they've already lost both tackles. So I'll take, even though we were not in love with the pass rush from your down lineman here, if you're going to take Virginia's backups and put them up against these guys in one-on-one situations, we're going to take that all day, I think. If I'm wrong about that, then maybe I just quit the show. Shoot. I can't do it like we did last year. That was crap. Miami, I think, is going to run a lot of 2 tight end stuff this year. I don't think they love their receivers they have. I'm not saying they suck. Don't take me out of context, Miami fans, but they definitely don't have a whole lot of standouts. Pitt's much more wide open spread now. Stanford, do we have any idea what Stanford's running? I like their practices are for the most part closed, and I don't think that that we have any idea what Frank Reich's going to run. They were very spready last year.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, Clemson is kind of spready. Purdue Tech's very spready under Montgomery. NC State's going back to a much more traditional like power run game stuff than
so
they
4
were.
or 5 games, probably you're going to go more the 3-3, and then 7, maybe 8 games, you're more a true nickel, like because you're going to need to have the edge on the field.
I think so. Yeah, and also, who's the guy they constantly talk about on this defense? And not to jump ahead to the DB preview, but like every single interview they mention Earl. It seems like. So if you're not having Earl on the field, you probably need a really good reason why.
Right.
Because he's a hitter too. It's not like he's an amazing cover guy based on what we've seen so far in his career. I would not be shocked if you see a whole lot of 5 DB stuff. The question I think you guys bring up is a good one. Is that more 4-2 or is it more 3-3? I don't know. Is there any chance Cryer just bursts out and is like really, really damn good? because he has flashed at times. I guess when I'm thinking, like, I like this room okay-ish because it has a lot of floor to me. But ceiling-wise, I totally agree with Graham. Like, the difference maker athletically is Nicholson, and I do think it's not good. They really can't get him on the field. Like, you don't have unlimited big, fast, strong guys on this roster. And he's not the biggest, but he is clearly like the most athletic guy that you have at backer. And it's like, damn, dude.
If he's healthy, I think Caleb Lavalle may be another kid that can help stretch the ceiling some. That'll be interesting to see. Athletic. You didn't get to see a ton of him at UNC. Certainly flashed a lot in the bowl game. So we'll see. But I do think the potential is there, and that's probably the other piece that has you a chance to kind of stretch your expectations in a positive manner.
What do you feel like the weaknesses are of this group?
I mean, I'm not being critical of kids, but Florida State, and we don't have a lot of guys that can play sideline to sideline at a position that organically nothing is in college football is easy right now. Okay. So I'm not trying to overdo it, but this should be the one position when you're at Florida State and you get to recruit South Georgia and the state of Florida that you have a fairly consistent pipeline of guys that are athletic, can cover, can run, and thump. And you've got some nice pieces here. I'd like to see a little more of the high school pieces in the system and developed. And again, it's not easy, but also in the NIL world, we should acknowledge this. This is no. You don't get to shop at Dollar General for any place for high-end talent when you're out there, but this is one position that doesn't quite get some of the price extremes that others do. So, yeah, we'll see.
100%. I guess I like the depth. There's no way Nicholson could just totally suck, right? If you had to put him in the game, do you think he's unplayable, or you just think he's? You see what I'm saying there?
He might just be slow adapting to the new system. I kind of want to chalk it up to that. Maybe that's wishful thinking. I don't think he sucks. I think he may be taking a little longer to pick up some of the responsibilities, just given it's a completely different scheme than what he came into.
He played as a freshman, some in 23, flashed some last year. Also, probably didn't get to play as much as he would have liked to. So, curious to see what he does with those opportunities. And, there are big programs who have shown a very significant interest in Blake Nicholson in the past. So there's obviously something there. And, just give Tony maybe this depth chart looks a little bit different 4 or 5 games in.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. All right. So we don't hate the linebacker room. We're just not in love with its upside. Could be a top half unit in the ACC.
You're only going to play 2. I think if you've got Juice and Elijah Herring on the field a lot and Omar, you've got 3 pretty solid pieces that you can rotate in. And then if you do see the development of Caleb and Blake, then you got a pretty nice room here. It's not 1993. You don't just line up with a 4-3 all the time. And when you view this more of how many players they're going to have on the field in the system, makes me feel a little bit better. But it is probably worth noting that Coach Papuchas mentioned that he has 6 guys that he feels real comfortable with. This is just the fan in me. I think one of those guys is not listed here. I think it's the walk-on from Tampa, number 41 last year, Cottrell. Not of the Cottrell family, but or maybe Cottrell, however you pronounce it. But I think that's a guy that they love on special teams, and I think he's probably in the mix to maybe a greater extent than this depth chart would say.
I think that's pretty fair. They definitely do seem to have a lot of trust in him. If they pick this up fast, like this could be really encouraging, especially against the ACC teams. My worry is against your. There's a real chance you're playing like 4 of the top 10 offensive lines in the country. And so in those 4 games, are you just getting your defensive lineman pushed back into your face fast? I don't know. Virginia might be the second worst like Power 5 offensive line you play, and Bama might be the best offensive line you play. So we might be into October before we have a real feel for how these guys react with, some blockers in their face, because there's a chance UVA doesn't block you at all. Who knows?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a running theme amongst this team in general, though. We might not know a lot about this team until we get at least to Virginia, if not until Miami, just because.
Yeah, I think that's it, Chuck. I think I don't want to be like crude or whatever, but I don't know if Virginia built a new facility on a sacred burial ground or something, but like they've suffered injuries at a level that I don't really remember another program suffering. Whereas maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, Bud and I talked about like the most important game of the year. And Bud probably correctly said Virginia. I said Alabama more because of economics than football, but I have my reasons. I don't know that, by all intents and purposes, that Virginia game you should win somewhat comfortably at this point. When you just go and look at the injuries that they've sustained, and I know we're talking more macro in a position preview here, but I think it's a great point. You're going to have a chance to play two teams that you'll thump pretty considerably, and then you get a chance to go on the road, get a win, feel confident. Maybe you're 3-1 going into Miami, and we learn an awful lot about that team come up the first weekend in October.
I feel that's the first real report card we'll have on this team. Until then, we just don't know. It's just going to be too hard to take anything out of the Bama game or those two scrimmages.
Yeah, right. Yes. The only outcomes I think there are, if you actually beat Bama, then we're really, really reassessing both what you are and what they are. And then if for some reason you lost to Virginia, that's like after school special. Hey, Timmy,
sound some alarms.
We're gonna pull you out of school here. Like what? Like report card wise, it's like do what now? Oh man. All right, let's chop this here, and on the flip side, we will go talk a little defensive backs and overall thoughts on Tony White's defense.
Sounds good.